There is an invisible energy that exists between magnet and metal. You can't see it or touch it, but you know that it's there. Some paranormal investigators believe that people generate a similar kind of energy, which remains in the environment even after death. They call it residue. These investigators suggest that what many people experience as a haunting may actually be their ability to feel, hear, or even see the existence of this spiritual residue. California, 1850, a stagecoach stop with good food and clean beds. Today, it's an historic landmark with a different kind of reputation. The Whaley House is considered one of the most haunted places in the West. Sandy Stokes was a reporter for the San Diego Press Enterprise when she investigated the Whaley House for a special Halloween story.
So to do a little bit of research to make sure that it was really haunted, I called up some ghost hunters, and one of the people I called was Richard Sennett.
So I sort of challenged her. I said, well, go ahead. Go down to the Whaley House, use a tape recorder, use brand new music quality tape, go from room to room, and when you're done, play it back and see if there isn't something that shouldn't be there.
So I took his advice and I came down here, and June Redding gave me a tour.
In her 34 years as director of the Whaley House, June Redding has experienced all kinds of haunting phenomena. She's convinced that Mrs. Whaley, a professional musician at the turn of the century, is still demonstrating her talents.
And we think perhaps her spirit isn't strong enough to return, but we have music coming from the music room, piano and violin music at times. We have the sound of a music box. A strain of a music box is not one of ours here.
Would Sandy's tape recorder pick up this anomalous music?
When I got back and played the tape, it was very interesting. I heard some sounds on it that we hadn't heard while we were walking through the house and I was interviewing her.
EVP is electronic voice phenomenon, and this first began in the 1970s when people using tape recorders began to get extra sounds that shouldn't be there.
The tape was digitally analyzed by EVP expert Brian Black. He discovered background sounds like clacking billiard balls, while June was giving Sandy a tour.
So was that on there when it was a courtroom too?
Yeah.
Oh. And these are ghosts? Oh, they're the ghosts.
This is an interesting one.
Do you ever feel ghosts?
Oh, yeah.
What does it feel like?
Brian recorded billiard sounds and compared them to the sounds on the tape, but it wasn't a match.
I did some research on the history of billiards and discovered that what they use for billiard balls has changed considerably.
Brian consulted with Terry Moldenauer, an expert on antique billiards.
The ivory balls were used from the early 1800s on up till about the 1930s, 40s, just recently when we went into the plastics.
When Brian repeated the test with ivory balls, the results were remarkable.
If you put the anomaly as a 10, something what would compare to it, I'd say an ivory comes in about 7 or an 8. Phenolic resin, the plastic that they use today, is too sharp and crisp.
When Brian told me that he had proved that it was the actual sound of a billiard game with balls that had not been in use since the turn of the century, I was really surprised. I was shocked.
Why were billiard sounds recorded in a part of the house that was once a county courtroom? June Redding's historical research turned up a startling answer.
Frank Whaley, who was the oldest boy in the family, organized what he called the Clavel Social Club. We have all the records. As a matter of fact, I think I still have some invitations somewhere.
My ultimate conclusion is that somehow Sandy picked up a sound of someone practicing billiards, apparently from 1905.
Residual haunting is sort of like a shadow imprinted on the fabric of time. Somehow leaves an impression, or a photograph, if you will, in an environment that replays and replays over and over again. And this is perhaps one of the best examples we have of retrocognitive sounds. Sounds from the past, somehow impressed on the environment to be recorded a century later.
With his results of Brian's study that I'm not skeptical. And it's kind of eerie to me.